Hello, I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com. I'm bringing back Greg Mannarino. He was a big hit. He got 20,000 plus, views on the YouTube channel. He's the former Bear Stearns floor trader in the early to mid 90s. He shucked all that to go into the medical profession. He's a physician's assistant now, but he's still dabbling with finances and actually doing a little consulting work on the side. He also has a book that has been pre-released here called The Politics of Money. You can see it right here. It'll be out full force in a few weeks, but you can get it right now on lulu.com. Joining me now, Greg Mannarino. Greg, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Thank you.
Well, Greg, you hear a lot of talk about, what you could invest in as a hedge at a brokerage. And, my thought here is, it doesn't matter if you have a good investment if your brokerage turns into PFG Best or MF Global or Sentinel. And there was a big case with Sentinel that is a big ruling that came out, actually an appeal ruling. That said that, brokerage can, pledge your money, use it as collateral, and then if they blow up or when they blow up, you are no longer first in line for your own money. What are your thoughts on this? This is pretty scary.
It's very scary, Greg. What is safe? What is safe now? I mean, what you're referring to here was the issue with Sentinel Management and New York Bank Mellon with the segregated funds, which were actually mutual funds. Most people have mutual funds. Well, a segregated fund, that specific one was a mutual fund linked to a life insurance policy. I mean, these are considered safe havens, and anyone that's an investor or into finance understands that. These investment vehicles are considered, well, I wouldn't say like gold, but kind of like gold. In other words, they're there for when you need them. It's unbelievable what the court ruled. They said that exactly what you said. This is not your money. These institutions can now use these accounts as collateral against, well, I guess whatever they want to. And if it disappears, well, guess what? You're in trouble.
So you're acting as a consultant right now. What are you telling, your corporate clients that you're consulting for? How are you telling them to shield their wealth?
Okay. It's crazy to think that institutions, and I'm talking about big institutions, don't really have a clear picture of where we're going in the future here. And a lot of them are of the belief that things are going to be okay. So they have a lot of high-risk investments. Now, this goes back to the individual person as well. What used to work in the past is not going to work in the future. Period. The end. It's a whole new set of rules.
So what is not going to work in the future? I mean, Mario Draghi with the ECB has said we're going to have unlimited bond buying. I mean, they're going to turn on the spigots. People like Jim Sinclair says, hey, we've got a full-blown global money bomb going on with all the central banks, Japan, ECB, Treasury. What's not going to work in the future?
None of it's going to work. Why is that? Well, it's very simple. It really is, and that's what I'm all about. I like to break everything down to what does it really mean? We have to understand, people need to understand, a new monetary system is already in the works. People are talking about it, and this paper, it comes down to the fact that the paper scheme is over. We are now at the end of the ability to add any more debt on. We're done. But what are they doing? They're trying to continue and prop it up by adding more debt. Now, what you just brought up with Mario Draghi and this whole issue in Europe, what they're going to do, or what they're talking about doing, whether it actually happens, who knows? They are going to start a bond buying program involving monies that are already in circulation. In other words, they're not going to do what Ben is doing and just print it out of thin air. And people are kind of cheering about it. And it does have a plus side and it has a minus side. I guess the plus side is, okay, he's saying we're not going to print money out of thin air, but where's the interest coming from? That's what I want to know. I think they're going to have to print. Of course they're going to have to. There's no way out of them not printing. That is what's going on. It's something, again, that many people are covering is we're now going to start seeing more and more printing at an epic scale. We understand. The Federal Reserve just came out and said, hey, we're going to be ready to ease. Of course, they have no choice but to ease. Ease. I hate that word, ease. What does that mean? It means we're going to print money. We're going to buy assets with it. Why can't they just say what it is? Why do they have to say, we're going to ease? Like it's going to make our lives better? Of course it's not going to make our lives better. What is it going to do? It's going to cause inflation. And not only is it going to cause inflation, it's causing fear. Fear. Investors are starting to say, hey, what's going on here? I have all this money locked up in dollars that are being literally and deliberately punished to the point of ridiculousness. And they're going to start dumping them. Concept I've been over for a very long time. And I think this QE3 is going to backfire. I can't imagine a way that it would actually work. It's going to devalue the currency. Let's talk. It's done it time and time again. How much of this are people going to take? I don't know. The investors are already dumping their dollars. There's no doubt about it. I always tell people, watch the money velocity. Once the money velocity starts kicking up, they're going to spin that as being a good thing. It's not going to be a good thing. When the money velocity moves, that means people are dumping dollars. And it's going to happen. And what's going to happen to all those dollars that are being dumped or used? They're going to come right back here to the United States. And we're going to see inflation that people are not going to believe. That's the way it's going to play out.
Aren't they really doing this to prop up the banks? I mean, so many people, John Williams, people like Jim Sinclair, they just say they're just propping up the banking system. Aren't the banks still in big trouble?
Yes, a lot of the major banks are in big trouble. I have some charts here I can show you if you'd like to go over them.
Sure. I mean, I've heard rumors about, and from several sources that for one bank's in trouble is Morgan Stanley. Show me what's going on with the banks. I mean, what do you think? Are some of the big banks in big trouble?
They are in big trouble. And, before I actually get to those charts, let me just go over this. What they're doing, once again, because it worked last time, is a consolidation of power. We lost Bear Stearns. We lost Lehman Brothers last time. It was just all that was a consolidation of power. And they're doing it again. Let's go over some of these charts real quick. This is Morgan Stanley. Now, understand, a company's stock is reflective of its business model, right? Okay, so let's have a look at this. This is going back to 2005 until last week. Let's have a look. What do you think of that?
Boy, $90 to $15.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I don't want to own this. How about this? Here's Deutsche Bank.
160, 34, done.
Done. How about HSBC?
144.
Okay.
Stick a fork in them.
Yes, I'm going to show you the scariest chart of them all. This is a chart of the U.S. dollar, Greg. This is going back till 2002.
Boy, if the dollar was representative of a share of the U.S. Inc., it looks like we're in trouble, just like the banks. Am I wrong?
Oh, it's over. It just goes back to what I've been saying. We are now in the transition period, Greg, and that transition period is going to be not good for some, and it is going to be good for others. And this is why I always say, become your own central bank. Do what the central banks are doing, and you're going to be okay. If you do not, if you choose to stay in a currency that is plummeting, what is that going to do to your purchasing power? How are you going to be able to support yourself? It's going to, and this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Now you're not talking about buying GLD or SLV, some exchange traded fund. You're talking about taking direct control of silver, gold, platinum, farm ground, diamonds, artwork, getting your car title, making sure you're out of debt. Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think getting out of debt is a main theme in my book, The Politics of Money. In fact, I wrote a whole few chapters on getting out of debt and how to do it. Forget about these these TV commercials, they just want to steal your money. I told you how to do it in that book, the most easiest and most simple way, step by step, by the way. It's not good.
Well, coming up, so what are you telling your clients to do? I mean, if the brokerage, you're saying the brokerages, at least some of them, can't be safe. I mean, Morgan Stanley's brokers is Smith Barney. Bank of America has a brokerage. HSBC has a brokerage. I imagine Bank of America's stock chart looks about the same as the other ones, going straight down.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you telling people who may have accounts at any of those banks or brokerages?
I think the first thing to consider is this, and this is a fact. These institutions that I just showed you, they're insolvent. They're insolvent. I don't care what's on their balance sheets because they're all leveraged to the hilt. They're leveraged in so many different ways, and they have no money. What does that mean for the people, Greg? That means that the people in these banks that have their money in these banks or their cash, they're broke too. They're insolvent as well.
Do you think they're going to be put on the sacrificial financial altar and off with their heads, and their assets are going to go to the J.P. Morgans and Goldman Sachs? And is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I do. For example, let's look at this chart. This is J.P. Morgan. They've been pretty much flat the entire time going back to 2005. I could show you the same chart with Goldman Sachs. They've pretty much been flat as well. There's going to be a consolidation of power here. It's already being set up. And I'll tell you something that I find kind of interesting lately. If you follow the mainstream media channels, you see they're hyping the financial stocks. Forget about the hype. You always got to get, the successful investor is the one that gets in on the opposite side of the trade. Doesn't follow the pack. You understand? If people are bullish, you're bearish. If people are bearish, you're bullish. This is my investing philosophy. Get in on the opposite side of the trade, and you will do better in the long run. That's just a little secret that I like to give out, but it's the truth. This is how successful investors work. They don't follow the pack. They do the opposite of what the pack does, and they do better in the long run.
So you think, based on your chart work, that the rumors about Morgan Stanley being in some trouble, you think there may be truth to that reflected in their stock price?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All of them. It's absolutely reflected in their stock price. That is telling you how their business model is working. And, I'm a chart guy. I look at charts every day. In fact, I go blind looking at charts every day. But absolutely, yes. Again, it goes back to your theme. I believe there is going to be a consolidation of power, just like there was with the crash of 2008 when we lost Lehman Brothers and we lost Bear Stearns. We know how that played out. All it did was make the too big to fails even bigger. And now they're going to get even bigger. The scheme worked before. It is going to work again. The people are going to be slaughtered who are not ready for this. That's it.
And you think that if you are an account holder, and particularly at one of their brokerages, that if their money is likely going to get pledged or used as collateral, and if and when they do go under, and who knows who, but some of those stock charts look pretty scary, if and when they do go under, what do you think the chances of them getting their money back?
Zero. Absolute zero. I mean, look what happened. Look at the court ruling. They're setting this up, Greg. They're setting up the I don't know what you want to call it, grand theft, or on an unimaginable scale. And the middle class is going to be gone in a few years. There's going to be a ruling class and the serfs, and this is part of their process. That's exactly how I see this playing out.
Gregory Mannarino, The Politics of Money. It's pre-released on Lulu.com. Greg, thanks for coming on to USAWatchdog.com.
Thanks for having me.